Welcome in Hardcore Penn State Football, the 200th episode of Hardcore Penn State Football. We'll be talking about Northwestern. We'll be talking about Penn State, some practice notes, and we'll get into our pick'em at the end of the show. Preview and predictions coming your way. Make sure, if you haven't already, you're subscribed wherever you're watching or listening. Welcome in Hardcore Penn State Football. I'm Corey Listoki. With me, as always, the great Sean Kane. How are you doing today, Sean?
Well, I've had better Wednesday preview podcasts, Corey. But at least the Yankees got a win last night to stay alive. Don't know what'll happen tonight, but
you guys were such babies. I saw you guys texting, and it's over, blah 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 blah. And I was like, man, I wonder how bad it is. And I flip on the game, and it's the first inning, and you guys are already throwing in the towel.
Well, it's just been a pretty terrible week with sports. First off, I didn't even mention on the last pod, Corey. My Miami Dolphins blew a 17-0 lead to the mighty Carolina Panthers on Sunday. That was the Penn State loss was the punch in the mouth, and then the kick in the balls was the Dolphins blowing that 17-0 lead.
Yeah. I
didn't even talk about that.
Very interesting team. Carolina, the Panthers are kind of an interesting team as well. Welcome into the show, everybody. If you're watching live on YouTube, let us know how you're doing. We're here to chat. Sean, Penn State takes on Northwestern this weekend. Before Penn State played UCLA, Northwestern and UCLA played. And Northwestern, in a scrappy win, beat UCLA at home. They are not a good football team either. Really not a great football team. And yet, as we'll get to our predictions at the end of the show, once you lose to UCLA, every game just seems like you could lose it. So
that's right. You showed that you can't necessarily handle the bottom of your schedule. And you know something, Corey, something that I wish I mentioned on Monday's show that I've been thinking about really since Saturday, but I didn't think to mention it. Losing to UCLA, just with James Franklin's history, you don't get any grace for losing a game like that. No. If you were if let's just say Penn State, for the sake of argument, had beaten Ohio State in 2017, 2018, which we both agreed they should have won. And then they beat them. Let's say they did, those few years where Ohio State was clearly better. They lost 2019, 2021, but then they won in 22. I think the fan base would be feeling a little bit better. Yeah. Because they'd be like, well, James has beaten Ohio State before. We could still turn this around. But there's just that air of hopelessness right now. And now we're like, oh, well, that's out the window that we could just handle all the really bad teams. So we could, there's a feeling out there, too, that not only are we going to lose to Ohio State and Indiana, but I don't know if we could handle this week.
In trying not to fall down the same hole we have fallen down the last couple episodes, I will just provide a little glimpse of positivity. You may be watching this game driving into State College this week, or this episode as you come into State College this weekend. Let me provide you with some sort of potential inspiration, if I may, regardless of if I believe in it or not. For the first time in a long time, Sean, Penn State, no training wheels. Penn State, no seatbelt. Penn State, no guardrails. Previous seasons, they could kind of say, well, as long as they win the rest of their games, they'll be fine. And they don't even need to beat Ohio State to be able to make the playoff. What now happens is Penn State not only has to beat Ohio State on the road, they will need to beat Indiana at home. They will need to beat a pretty good Nebraska team. They need to beat an okay at Iowa team in order to go to the college football playoff. That is what has to be done now. There is no more room for error with this 2025 Penn State football team. And if I may, indulge me for a second, Sean, if I can give you any glimmer of hope, it is the fact that one of the last times Penn State was back up against the wall was when good old Sandy Barber had to provide a vote of confidence from the athletic director position for head coach James Franklin in 2016 after a demoralizing.
I was actually thinking we might see that from Kraft this week.
After a demoralizing game against Michigan that year. So what I'm trying to get at here is if you're looking for any sort of hope, if you're looking for something that can turn this thing around, it is that Penn State does not have any sort of wiggle room. They must go forward. They have nothing else that they can do besides win. And I will say this. I at least heard one anecdote today from Mr. Drew Aller himself, who, by the way, spends the entire day at the facility. Maybe he needs to go for a walk every once in a while and get out of there. But
I agree.
He did talk about James Franklin. And at least according to the starting quarterback, the team is rallying around James Franklin because they've heard the noise. They probably listened to the show. And they've heard the noise themselves. So if I may provide some sort of optimism as we head into this episode, into this weekend, it is that it appears the team is rallying together. It appears the team is rallying around James Franklin, and this team is in true wounded animal mode. They have nowhere to go but forward and let the rest take care of itself. That's the best I can do, Sean.
Yeah, and I echo a lot of that. Bill Simmons always talks about on his show the nobody believes in us team. Penn State is clearly the nobody believes in us team now, because nobody believes in them at all. If we're being completely honest, everybody knows they're talented, but nobody really believes in this team to be able to get it done. Corey and I are pretty upbeat, I would say. I think we're more on the positive side. I think sometimes it gets perceived Corey's a little more than I, but although I'm just generally optimistic, I was very optimistic about this team. I thought we were going to win the national championship. So I know their talent is there, but y'all just lost to UCLA, And as far as rallying around the coach, I don't think there's any doubt that they love James Franklin. I think part of James Franklin's problem, it's a blessing and a curse that they love him so much. It's a blessing in that at a time like this, where everybody's back against the wall. I said their back was against the wall after Oregon. It's really up against the wall now because they have, like you said, they have zero room for error. So the positive in that they all love him is they can conceivably rally around him. But the drawback is, as we've pointed out, there are just simple things that I think need to be done that due to loyalty or due to something else, James Franklin's not willing to do that. And top of the mind is Keyshawn Allen should be RB1 now. I actually tweeted a little bit about this last night. Tyzer Denmark, Kobe Howard should be getting more time. Certain people on the offensive line, maybe Nick Dawkins should be maybe benched.
Yeah, well,
that's the drawback of being loved so much and being loyal to your guys.
Well, I do have some potentially good news for you. Is that the Beat did ask about Tyzer Denmark and Kobe Howard. And he said, quote, obviously we're in a position right now where we don't have plays and drives to just throw somebody out there and see how it goes. We got to get our best guys on the field. So, Sean, how does that make you feel?
That could just be empty words. I would love it because, and here's the thing. Of course, we don't see practice. And I'm sure there are reasons outside of Kobe Howard's struggles on special teams, whatever that's supposed to mean, that he's not getting on the field. Same thing with Tysier Denmark. I'm sure there are reasons. But dude, like we lose to Oregon. We're struggling with UCLA. You don't once think during the game, hey, maybe we should put Denmark in. Maybe we should put Kobe Howard in. And when you really look at it, even though the offense played better against UCLA, a lot of that was with Drew Aller's legs because the receivers were not getting open. So a lot of that was just Drew taking off on his own and improvising.
And to that point, though, if I had to defend Franklin at all, I would at least agree with him in the sense of they didn't get Devontae Ross the ball enough. So if they haven't got Devontae Ross the ball enough, they haven't got Kobe Howard the ball enough. I guess my pushback would be maybe throw the ball a little bit less to the running backs and tight ends and throw the ball a little bit more to Devontae Ross and see if they can make the plays instead of just, not even attempting. Because I think too, like, okay, maybe Kobe Howard isn't ready to consistently be on the field for 20, 30 snaps in a game. But he can't come in off the bench and provide a spark.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying he needs to be out there every drive, or I don't think you are either. But he can't come in and make a play on a tunnel screen or, catch a slant pass over the middle or even just let him, and this probably wouldn't be for him, but more for Tysier Denmark, give him an opportunity to go stretch the defense.
Yeah, I remember in 2018, Corey, there was this unknown freshman named Jahan Dotson. And Penn State was in a dogfight with a crappy Indiana team out in Bloomington. The offense had hit the skids. We put this kid named Dotson in. And all he did was just caught a few balls, moved the chains a few times. And you're just like, hey, this kid might end up being good. And obviously we know what happened with Jahan. Like, that's all we're asking for. Is just put these guys in. Maybe they get open. Maybe they don't. But they're not getting open now. And let them try to make a play or two. They're going to be hungry because it's their first time they've really ever gotten in anything besides mop-up duty. So let them cook a bit.
Let them cook, right? I mean, that's all we're asking for.
Yeah.
Franklin was also asked about Kaytron Allen tonight. And he said this, quote, "There's been discussions that have happened with the players. There's been discussions that have happened with the coaches. Obviously, Kaytron is doing some really good things and deserves an opportunity to get more touches." You satisfied, Sean?
Again, empty words. Franklin has been talking about getting Kaytron Allen more touches for a couple weeks now, and we have not seen it. And I don't really know what it's due to. But all I know is he's averaging 7 yards a carry. And according to one of those nerd stats, he's number 3 in the Big Ten in elusivity rate. And he's not getting the ball. Nick Singleton, even though they play about the same amount of reps, like you've mentioned in past episodes, it seems like when Kaytron's on the field, they start throwing more. And they're not giving Kaytron the ball more. It's mind-boggling. Because the other thing is, Corey, Singleton is the better receiving back. And it feels like they run more when Singleton's on the field.
Yeah.
Because let me be clear too. I still think Singleton should have a role in this offense. It's just more as a receiver because he still has value. If you get Nick Singleton out in the open space, I don't even buy the whole thing that he's gotten slower. I don't think so. He's always kind of been like this. If you get him in the open field, he's still gonna fly. It's just a matter of doing it.
I completely agree with all of that.
Thanks.
That being said, we will see, how they try to do that, how they try to get Kaytron Allen the ball more. Because I'm not, now it's almost like the first three plays of the game are going to be Kaytron Allen for 4 yards, and then we're like, see, we're punting again, and then that's gonna be that. Offensive line, you mentioned Nick Dawkins a little bit. Franklin was asked about that as well, wanting to get Anthony Donkoh some reps at right tackle, and attempt to try to get more guys on the field. I'm not expecting a massive shakeup of the offensive line. You mentioned Nick Dawkins too. Like,
I don't either.
I don't know who else can play center. And also, if Vega's your best offensive lineman right now, You can't move him away. You at least need to solidify one spot, and you put him in another spot. Now he's not as good. Now you hurt yourself even more. So I feel like, and we know Cooper Cousins is lost in space right now. So I don't know if you have any options at center.
Well, that's part of the problem. Is I think they had anticipated because let's be real, and I feel like I'm picking on Nick Dawkins a little bit tonight. But it's Rucci too. Rucci looks like Wisconsin Rucci now, not whoever we saw last year in the playoff. That guy seems to be gone. I don't know where he is, but he's not out there. So yeah, I would like to see more Donkoh at right tackle. And you know something, Corey? What happened to the whole we have 7 starting offensive linemen? Right now, it looks like we have
8.
Yeah, I think at one point it was 8, but I think to be fair, Williams did get hurt, Javen Williams. But where I don't know if we have more than one. Like Venga's been good. Venga's going to play on Sundays for a long time. But where are these other guys?
I don't know.
I think Donkoh, it's as simple as he's out of position. He's good at tackle. I think that's pretty self-explanatory, but I don't know where these other guys are.
I think honestly you have to put Donkoh back at right tackle. At least get 2 positions solidified. You can figure out right guard. And maybe right guard's okay once you get Donkoh at right tackle again. I don't know. But you got to, like, in my opinion, you just got to fix one position at a time. You can't just keep putting different things out there or doing nothing just because you want to put Donkoh at right guard because you think you have your next best offensive lineman at right tackle. I don't care. You need to put your best player in the best spot at each of these offensive line spots right now and just roll with it. For better or worse. If your right guard's a little bit weak, so be it. If your center's a little bit weak, so be it. If your left tackle's a little bit, so be it. But I think you got to at least you got to maximize the skill level at any position right now in offense.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you got to just hope that Drew Shelton gets his head out of his ass. I don't know what else to say other than that. He's a senior. He's played 4 full years. Well, almost 4 full years. And I don't know. It just seems all off.
It does. I think that's all I wanted to mention from Franklin's presser today. He talked about the defense a little bit and you know how they need to simplify things potentially. And again, they talked about the linebackers and how the system's been complex. And I keep reiterating over and over, Sean, then simplify the defense so you can get your best players on the field. Like, I don't know what else you can do. I get it, right? And you know what? If they play true freshman linebackers and we get roasted, I promise on the podcast right now, I will not come after Jim Knowles because of it. Maybe I will. But I won't come after him because I'm thinking this is his defense. I will simply say we didn't prepare enough linebackers and that's a problem. But I won't say, you know what, we're not running, you know, this is Jim Knowles' scheme and we're not doing well. If we put young guys out there, Tash, Cam Smith, Specca, and they are out of position sometimes and they get burned, I will say, you know what, they're young guys, you know, and this is the best we can do, but at least we got some athletes out there. So be it. And by the way, Sean, is this not the best opponent probably left on Penn State's schedule to do this with? Maybe Rutgers a little bit later.
Yeah, I would say this. This was supposed to be the easy part of our schedule, Corey, outside of the out-of-conference. Like, it's supposed to be, okay, you get a tough game with Oregon, but then you ease into Ohio State a little bit. You have UCLA. You have, especially when we saw the way UCLA started the year, because we both thought they were going to be better. You have UCLA, you have Northwestern, and then you get a little bit more of a test with Iowa. Has not happened. We just lost to UCLA, and I think any game's a toss-up until I see otherwise.
Everything's a toss-up right now, and honestly, like
something else outside of that.
And that's the thing to me is like, look, yes, there are some psychological things that need to be fixed. We talked about this on the Monday show. The one thing that has to be fixed fundamentally is the linebacking room. That to me is the true, like, if you're going to point to something that actually is a problem, that is going to be a problem when they face Iowa, when they face Ohio State, when they face Indiana, it is going to be the linebacking core. So they've got to figure this out. Like, and I don't even care if even if they don't completely figure it out against Northwestern. In my opinion, they don't have a choice. They have to then figure it out completely at Iowa because they cannot go at Ohio State. They cannot play Indiana at home with Amari Campbell and Dom DeLuca. Like, it just can't happen. They're not going to win the game. I tell you that right now. If Dom DeLuca is out there for more than 50 snaps, call it 40 snaps against Ohio State, they're not going to win a football game. I'll tell you that right now.
Therein lies our problem, Corey, because I just don't know who else is going to play. And look, I agree with you. I think we got to try some freshmen, especially this week. And we hope and we pray that the offense can score enough points and the defense can make a few plays that we're able to put a little bit of a cushion between us and Northwestern. And we could kind of whisper to Alex Tash and Cam Smith, hey, go out there, see what you can do. That's the hope. But even, Corey, we might be in a position where we need them to, where we don't have a cushion and we just need them to go out there and make some plays because it's do or die, kind of like the UCLA game. I know Cam Smith got in a little bit, but we may be in a position like that.
But I don't see, but to me, Sean, it doesn't matter, right? Because even if you're in a position like that, what does that mean for Ohio State and Indiana? If you're in that position against Northwestern, none of this matters anyway, right? You're going to get fired anyway. If you're like that with Northwestern, you're going to lose at Iowa. You're probably going to lose even at Michigan State. Like, forget about it. None of this matters. So you might as well try to figure this out. Okay, beat Northwestern 42-32 or something like that, right? Who cares how many points you give up? You're the laughing stock of college football anyway. Who cares? So figure it out. Do whatever it takes. Play the young guys. And if you give up 30 points, so be it.
Sometimes you just have to try something to try something, right?
And these are not bad linebackers. Like, these guys aren't bad.
They look pretty bad, but I know what you're saying. Like, these are all, like, it's not like we found these guys at, like, Holy Cross High School, who's in my area. Like, and that's where I went to high school, bad football team. Like, these are all highly recruited guys. Now, are they inexperienced? Yes. But are they talented? Yeah. And you might have some mental mistakes. Somebody we bring up a lot. Well, we don't necessarily, but we talk about it, like, in our group chat, Cam Brown. Cam Brown played a lot of snaps in 2016 for Penn State. Was Cam Brown good? Not really. Not at first. He ended up being an NFL player, ended up being a good player here for us. But we needed to play him because we were forced to play him. And look, did he make some mistakes sometimes? Sure. But he was a guy that we needed to play, and we won the Big Ten with him playing a lot of snaps. That's the type of thing that we really need, is just one of these guys to step up and just be playable for us.
Right. Exactly. And I think they have guys that can do that. Like, Cam Smith was very touted. Alex Tasser's done some good things. I don't think Specca helps as far as a speed perspective, but
he's about to pass DeLuca when we saw that went.
Right. He's probably slower than DeLuca. Lambda on YouTube says, you know what they say, talking about offensive linemen. He says, you know what they say, if you've got 7 offensive linemen, you've got none. So,
it turns out we were all bamboozled. And you know what drives me nuts, Corey? James Franklin himself talked about the Joe Moore Award this year. Like, almost unprovoked. He said, yeah, it'd be great to win the Joe. You set these expectations, James.
Maybe, if I may go with the positive route again, Sean. I don't know why I'm in this mood today, but if I may go positive with it, they keep talking about the inconsistency. And Drew Shelton, when he was interviewed this week, said it's one guy not doing their job on a specific play. Now, it's not the same one guy not doing their job, But every play, it seems like one person messes up and everyone else does their job and they fail. So if that's the case, they would lead me to then believe that they could turn this around very quickly, right, Sean? If one guy is consistently missing their block on a play, just one guy, and again, it's a different player every play, but if one person is just messing up, theoretically, it shouldn't take too much then if that one player doesn't mess up for better things to happen, Sean. So from what I'm getting out of this is you can be very inconsistent right now, but what I'm hoping, if I'm going to be again positive about all this, is that is a very fixable thing. It just takes one person per play not messing up anymore.
Yeah. And yeah, it sounds that easy. You remember going into the Big Ten championship game last year, Corey? We had talked about we just got off a game against Maryland where we did not run the ball well. And then all of a sudden we play Oregon and we run all over them. And these are the same guys. So like you said, theoretically, it should be pretty simple to flip the switch. But the question is, why hasn't it happened yet? And I was more than willing in September to give these guys time. They didn't play great against FIU and Nevada. I was like, look, these guys are bored. Give it time. I know these guys can play because we've seen them play. I don't know. Like, they just seem to have lost their mojo. And, but again, going back to the positive spin on it, confidence is a powerful thing, right? If you're doing anything with confidence, you're going to be better at it. Especially, yeah. Yeah, and you have some drinks in you already, and I always seem to play better when I'm kind of drunk. But if you have confidence in you, you're going to be better, especially when you're a talented person who has done it before, and you just kind of have to find that mojo back. Why that hasn't happened coming out of the gate, I have no idea. One of the baffling things about this whole team is why, outside of Kaytron Allen and Zachy Wheatley, did nobody pick up from where they left off last year. That's one of the most confusing things about this whole team is nobody outside of those two guys that I could think of, and I guess Ryan Barker, took off from where they left off. I don't know. I can't answer that.
That's a good point. Lambda says the tight ends are missing a lot of blocks too. I don't even want to talk about the tight ends today. I'm done talking about
kill your vibe, the positive vibe.
I'm done talking about them. I'll talk about Tyler Warren. I'll talk about Brenton Strange. I'll talk about,
guys Johnson. That aren't here.
I don't want to talk about the tight ends today. I just don't want to do it. I think that's all I wanted to cover out of like the press stuff this week. Again, Drew Shelton was interviewed. Drew Aller was interviewed. I don't know if they just chose Drew. Anyone who had the first name Drew had to speak today. The last thing I will say, Sean, and this does not sound like a man who's feeling any pressure. They asked specifically if Franklin would be more hands-on with the play calling process. And he said, quote, "We've had a process here that's been pretty consistent at a pretty high level for a long time. So what we're also not going to do is overreact."
Has it been a high level for a long time, James?
Pretty high level.
That's his qualifying word. Yeah, because on offense, I don't think so.
No. If you're watching live on YouTube, please make sure you've liked the video. We really appreciate that, and make sure you're also subscribed to the channel. If you're watching or listening on podcasts, please make sure you're also subscribed to the channel. A lot of people think they're subscribed and they're not. Just double check that for us. Northwestern, Sean. I like David Braun. Originally a interim hire. They decided to keep him. And his record right now is 15-15. He's not doing anything special with the Wildcats, but I think he's a good guy. And I say he's not doing anything special, but he's actually, Northwestern's actually above Penn State in the Big Ten right now. So, as is pretty much everybody. But I like Braun. I think he's a good dude. This is not necessarily a good football team that's coming into to Beaver Stadium. But as I titled this episode, The Battle Within, to me, this Northwestern game, this is not about a battle with Northwestern. This is really more about a battle with Penn State. There's nothing that Northwestern is going to do that is going to cause a ton of problems. It's going to be if Penn State is able to get back on that saddle and figure it out. If you're trying to be optimistic about this game and trying to say, can they start fast? Can they get, the mojo back? Let me provide at least a little ounce of again, positivity. Northwestern is 128th in the country in turnover margin. They are -6 on the year. They have given away the football 8 times so far this year, which really means they haven't got a lot of turnovers. I mean, -8's not good, period, or -6 isn't good, period. But 8 giveaways isn't awful. There's some teams that have given the ball away 12, 14 times. Actually, Nevada's given the ball away 14 times. So that makes a lot of sense as far as Penn State getting turnovers against them and pretty much nobody else. But point being, they don't force a lot of turnovers and they do give the ball away a decent amount. That means that even if Penn State can't, provide their own juice, I believe Northwestern will at some way provide them opportunities to then flourish regardless. Whether or not they capitalize that, I'm not sure.
Yeah, the thing that stuck out to me, Preston Stone already has 6 interceptions. That ain't a good stat. And no. I think they're okay at running the ball. They ran the ball pretty good on Oregon. Now, a lot of that was in mop-up duty. But still, it was one of the things that gave me a little bit of hope was they were able to handle Oregon's defensive line really better than Penn State was able to do. We're all familiar with slow games out in the Midwest at noon. I think Oregon fell victim to that a little bit. It's easier to get up for a Penn State game in a whiteout than at a lacrosse or soccer field or wherever they play at out in Northwestern. So that was really the big thing that stood out to me. Also, they have a linebacker, Fitzgerald, who's leading them in tackles. I wonder if he's related to Pat. I would assume he is not. But Pat was also a linebacker for Northwestern. So, yeah, this really isn't a good team. This is a team that going into last week I thought will be easily able to handle. But I don't know now. Penn State is vulnerable to anybody. They also did not really move the ball that great on UCLA when they played them. They only won 17-14 at home, where Penn State was. The one thing I'll give us is we were able to put up 35 points. Problem is we gave up 42, and they only gave up 14 against them. So, well, I think, like I said, I really wasn't worried at all about this game going in. It's still not a very good football team. And if Penn State is playing even close to their best ball, they should be able to win this game with ease.
Yeah, he's from Dallas, Texas, so I'm going to say he's not related. Look that one up for you. The thing about Preston Stone, just to go back to him for a second, yes, he's turned the ball over a lot, right? But all of his turnovers have come in 2 games. At Tulane to start the year, where it was awful, right? He threw 4 picks. And then he had 2 against Oregon. So it's not like there's and I don't want to say there's not a habit, but it's not like there's a pattern here that he's just constantly throwing the interceptions. He had 2 really bad games.
Better secondaries.
And against against teams that are getting takeaways. So the other thing I just like to note about him, that after what just happened at UCLA, he also ran for 49 yards against ULM last week. So, I mean, if you're Northwestern, how are you not looking at this game and going, honestly, I don't know if I'd throw the football if I was Northwestern, just to be completely honest.
They may not.
Maybe I'll spread everyone out and make it seem like I'm going to throw, like still have receivers go on routes, so not like a true quarterback draw, but then I would just have them scramble. I don't know if I'd actually throw the football and see if our linebackers can tackle in space. Now, the good news is Preston Stone is 6'1". He's not 6'6" like Nico Imaliva. And he does not have the same speed or cannon. But that doesn't mean it's going to necessarily be easy either. So I would be very curious to see how much Northwestern attempts to run the football. Their running back also has done some decent things as well. Caleb Komolafe. He already has 4 touchdowns on the year. And I think he has 4 touchdowns on the year, but I think all of those have come in the last 3 games. So he's heating up a little bit as well, and doing some good things. It's crazy to me that Cam Porter's still on the team, just because he's been on the team for a very, very, very long time. Like, I'm pretty sure, Sean, if I go back and look, yeah, he was on the team in 2020. So he did not play in 2021, but he 1, 2, 3, 4. This is his 5th full season. And again, it's like a lot because 80 carries in 2020. So he's done things literally for 5 seasons straight, which is just crazy. He's still around. Not a factor though, and won't be a factor on Saturday.
Yeah, I thought he played on the first Northwestern team Franklin played back in 2015. No, that second team where we called out, where we waited till there were 20 seconds left to call any timeouts. Yeah, it feels like he's been there. And
here's the thing: he got hurt. I don't know if it's a first or second game this. I think it's a second game this year. So
he might be back.
Might be back. We'll have to wait and see on that, which is just again insane. That Caleb
play Northwestern next year. Because their stadium's going to be ready soon, I think.
Yeah, they might have another year still, but yeah.
Yeah. So.
A couple other random notes for you. Aiden Hubbard, 2.5 sacks on this season so far. More importantly, Sean, I want to ask you something. Are you ready to just admit that this Penn State pass rush just isn't good? Because I know it's early, right? Because Abdul Carter didn't start getting hot until like October, right? So I don't want to say it's completely over, but I'm going to have to start looking at sacks allowed because last year I could just say, oh, they're going to get sacks because they're going to get sacks. Northwestern's averaging allowing a sack and a half a game. So right about middle of the pack, nothing awful, nothing crazy good.
Well, and part of it, Corey, has been these quarterbacks are getting the ball out so quick. The last 2 guys we played, Nico and Dante Moore, and our corners are playing way, way back. It's almost off. Brent Pry-esque. Like we hadn't seen this in quite a while.
Tom Bradley, Ticket City Bowl.
Yeah, like, okay, we're just going to give you 8 yards. And
even in the goal line, that first touchdown pass against A.J. Harris, I would really hope that A.J. Harris is just out of position. I really hope that was the reason.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're just playing very, very far off. I remember when we came out against Oregon that first drive, first thing I said was, wow, we are playing way off. And then we did the same thing last week. And now I'm like, is this just a defense? Are we just going to play way, way back all the time? It's I don't know. Like, I'm not paid $3 million a year like Jim Knowles to figure that out, but it's just we make things easy for quarterbacks doing that.
And why have this what we thought was one of the best cornerback groups we've ever had. Why have them if you're not going to let them challenge receivers? Like, let them compete. Let them get their hands in their face and compete. And you can do that. You can play cover one and really cover zero and still leave like a Zakee Wheatley in the middle of the field to protect you against quarterback scrambles. Like, you can still do those things if you'd like. If you're going to man blitz, fine. Man blitz, and you can still just say, you know what, I'm not going to have anyone over the top. Just one-on-one, but I'm going to blitz you at the same time, and I'm going to leave Wheatley in to, pick up the scraps in case the first wave doesn't get there. Mark Thomas literally just says, why do our DBs seem to start a blitz 20? Yeah, Mark, I'm glad you bring that up. I had not noticed that until the UCLA game. We did some safety blitzing that reminded me of some Brent Price stuff as well, where we're blitzing from like 8 yards back and like, well, okay, he knows you're coming, but you're never going to get there in time. That drives me nuts when that
especially when you're playing really far back. You're just basically taking the safety out of the play.
Yeah, it's like 30 yards you're wanting him to sprint before even getting to the quarterback. So, no, I think you got to find ways to, again, Penn State has good players, right?
Yes.
Like, I get we lost to UCLA and it sucks, but like, they don't have better players than Penn State. I don't feel like the players, whether it's the offense or defense, are being put in positions where they can succeed or they can actually show that they're better. It's almost like we're running offenses and defensive schemes that kind of make the playing field even, which is good when you're playing Ohio State, right? Or is good against when you're playing Oregon that may have more talent than you. But it's not good when you're playing UCLA. It's not good when you're playing Northwestern. Come out and let your guys be dudes.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons we haven't been having problems with these teams, because Manny in 2022, 2023, we were always an aggressive defense. Sometimes we were over aggressive. Like you said, sometimes when you play the better teams, that could hurt you. But against these other teams, yeah, we one of the reasons we never really feared losing to a team like a Northwestern team, like this year's version of UCLA, is we knew the defense would create turnovers and they would be able to put the offense, they'd be able to really stifle their offense. And eventually, if you give our offense, even for struggling, enough opportunities, we're going to win the game. Like, think about I think it was 2022 game against Northwestern, where we won like 17-10. I think we might have lost that game if we had this defense. But we didn't. And
might have lost them last year.
Yeah. Like last year, did we play Northwestern last year?
Sorry, I'm thinking about Minnesota, but yeah.
Oh, Minnesota. That's a good example too.
Yeah. Northwestern only allowing touchdowns in the red zone 33% of the time. So if you want to go negative, it could very much turn into Penn State can't score in the red zone and it keeps Northwestern close, then who knows what happens. That's like the terrible scenario here. If you're curious, Sean, I provided an update like a month ago. Ohio State has still not given up a touchdown in the red zone, just so if you're curious where they're at with that. Penn State's right around 67%. Unfortunately, though, for Penn State on offense, they're only scoring touchdowns in the red zone 65% of the time. So you do the math there. Until they can run the football consistently, they're going to struggle to be able to score in the red zone. And Northwestern's not giving up easy stuff in the red zone. So not a great formula.
Not at all. You were kind of our red zone guru, Corey. Yes. Red/maroon zone for good reason. So, and the red zone, I think ironically enough, we may have been better in the red zone these last two games than we were at the first three, like scoring wise. I want to say we are. And So maybe that's one thing that we're sort of improving on, because I feel like we haven't seen Ryan Barker a ton in the past 2 games.
True.
Last
Out
game
of
we didn't see him at
necessity.
all except for extra points. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So, just some food for thought.
I like food and I like thought, so I appreciate that. The last thing I was curious about when I was just looking at the stats, because we have a month of data now, right? And I think that's when it gets exciting. Penn State's tied for 45th in the country for plays from scrimmage that go for more than 10 yards, which that's okay. That's about middle of the road. And then if you move that back, though, to just plays of 20 or more yards, they drop all the way down to 103rd in the country, which I think summarizes the offense the best as far as not being able to consistently pick up chunk plays. And they're doing a little bit better of a job sometimes at picking up 10 yards. But the bigger plays, the plays that you almost need one of those plays per drive if you're going to try to go 75 yards. Penn State's not doing that consistently. And that part to me, you can start telling a story with that now that we have that, a month of data. And Sean, just to finish that thought, Northwestern has allowed the 18th fewest 20-plus plays on the season so far.
Yeah, the formula's there for Northwestern this week, and it's make it a muddy game. Just try to drag Penn State into the dirt with you.
Is there a hurricane coming?
Unfortunately, there is not. So I actually think the weather's going to be nice on Saturday, which is good, which I think benefits Penn State a bit. Although the weather has been nice the last 2 weeks, we've lost. But with the type of game Northwestern wants to play, I think the good weather probably benefits Penn State a little bit more. And one of the reasons for that over 20-yard stat is Nick Singleton's not having any explosive runs. Like when you have a home run hitter, like think about baseball, the home run hitters, a lot of times they strike out a lot, right? So if they're not hitting home runs, you're not going to get much of anything from them. And we're just not seeing that from Nick right now. K-Tron has the longest run of the year. And we're also not going downfield enough with Devontae Ross. And it's one of the areas where I do think we miss Omari Evans. I think through a month of watching Ross and comparing him to what we saw from Omari Evans, while Devontae Ross, I still think he's a better all-around receiver. I think he could just do more with him. Omari Evans is a better deep threat. He just had more straight line. I got to run from here all the way to the end zone and burn you. Now, problem with him is it was the only thing to do. But we don't have that this year. And I think that's one of the fundamental things that hurts this team. And it feels like it's like 70th on the list now, that we don't have enough true speed to be able to beat teams downfield.
And have we honestly tried enough?
No. We could definitely try more. It's not that dire. Yeah, we could definitely try to go downfield more. But you know how that goes with Penn State. We don't go downfield at all.
You have to start chucking it somewhere. Forget where. Would you like to get into the pick'em? Any final thoughts on Northwestern?
I think we're ready to get into pick'em.
I'll be honest with you, Sean. I need Penn State to win for my own spirit here, my own soul.
We're canceling the pod next week if we lose.
Just call it done after 200 episodes. That'd be a great place to end it. It'd be a very bookended mark right there at 200 episodes. We'll have to do a pizza party in the off season when I feel like indulging myself with a happy pizza.
I heard T. Frank say on their show that they wanted to do like a '90s thing since it's homecoming this weekend, and he was like, nah. And then eventually he was like, nah, I just don't feel like up to it, and I feel like we could relate with the 200th episode.
Yeah.
So morale is very down right now.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get into the pick'em. Again, the pick'em is in the YouTube description. If you haven't done it, it's also on Twitter. I will do this right now if you're watching live. I will go onto X at Hardcore PSU FB, and I am going to quote tweet it with "in case you missed it." And now that is at the top of our profile as of 7:54 on Wednesday night. So no excuses if you haven't done your pick'em. And you already did yours. I'm going to fill mine out as we go through this. Washington, comeback win over Maryland last week, which just really hurts my soul because I doubled down and I took Maryland to win.
Oof,
actually, you know what? I think Maryland did cover, though, actually, now that I think about it. So I did get the 2. But they should have won that game, and that messed everything up in the world. But we also now know Maryland officially, they're not waiting for a fallback. They just suck as soon as it hits October. So now we know that definitively it's scientific proof moving forward that is the case. I assume we're taking Washington to beat Rutgers.
We are taking Washington.
And I assume, although I think it could be a good game, that we're taking Ohio State to beat Illinois.
We are. I think you have to be. I think if you're Ohio State, you got to be careful with that. I think that Indiana game, and Ryan Day actually talked a little bit in this press conference about it, and it's one of those old coaches sayings: throw out their worst game, throw out their best game, and that's who they are. And that Indiana game was the worst game that Illinois played, but they just had a nice win against USC. I think Illinois plays them tough, but ultimately Ohio State gets the win.
They play at Illinois and then they play at Wisconsin before a bye. And Wisconsin's terrible, but back-to-back road games, having to go to Camp Randall, 3:30 at night. Probably not going to matter. Yeah, I'm going to take Ohio State to win. Okay, Sean, this game was probably not a pick 'em for very long, but now it's a little bit more interesting. Michigan State is skidding a little bit. And UCLA obviously off I think it's an impressive win versus Penn State. Obviously the big concern here, Sean, can UCLA get over the big game hangover? And can lightning strike twice? They got to go to Michigan State. What are your thoughts here?
I think if they win this game, they need to keep Tim Skipper as their coach. But I don't think they're going to win this game. I think for the reason you stated, big game letdown. They had to really cling to hang on against Penn State, if we're being honest. They were up 27-7. That lead evaporated very, very fast. And I think if Luke Reynolds doesn't fumble, we probably win the game outright. And then, so basically, long way of saying, I think Michigan State wins this one. I do think UCLA will win more than just against Penn State. I think they are definitely playing better than they were at the beginning of the year. They nearly beat Northwestern. They do beat Penn State. So I'm taking Michigan State to win. If it was in Pasadena, I might take the Bruins, but I'm going to take Sparty here.
I'm going to take UCLA. I think
all right.
New offensive play calling. They have unlocked Nico a little bit more. And he's showing why he was a 5-star guy. So why not? UCLA gets the win. I'm way behind in the pick'em. I need to get some ground up somewhere. And if they can get over that big game hangover, I think they can hang with Michigan State for sure. The big one, Sean, CBS game, Indiana at Oregon. Game day is going there. Kurt Cignetti, can he find more magic? Dan Lanning's team, I'll be honest with everybody again. I said at the beginning of the year, I thought they were a year away. I thought they'd be one more year. They've got such a good young team. Obviously, they came into the whiteout and they found a way to win. Dante Moore, more impressive than I thought he was going to be so far this year. I'm going to take Indiana to win this football game.
Okay.
And I have no reason for why they will do it. They have a little bit more experience, and I just feel like Oregon's got to lose one of these. They got to lose one of these games. I just don't think a team like that can consistently just show up over and over again. And maybe I'm wrong, but they don't have anyone else, Sean, the rest of the year. I mean, they literally have at Rutgers, Wisconsin, I guess at Iowa, and then they got at Washington, which will be a good West Coast game. Washington's not an easy place to play. But as far as like good quality teams, like athletically, they got USC, and that's about it left on their schedule. And I feel like you don't bet against Kurt Signetti. Take Indiana win. Why not?
I'm betting against Kurt Signetti. You look at what Indiana did last season when they played better teams. I think that's going to be what they run into against Oregon. It's up in Autzen. Taking Oregon. I hear what you're saying, though. Oregon is due to lose one of these. I kind of think they got to be careful with Iowa. It seems like that's setting up for a team that hasn't played there before, not really familiar. Everybody knows the whiteout. I don't think you really understand Kinnick until you're there. So I think that's where they'd get tripped up, ironically enough. Well, depending on how Iowa is, we'll know more about them after they play us. But I'm going to take Oregon. I'm taking Oregon to win just because you look at what Indiana did against better teams last year. Wasn't pretty. And I think Oregon gets it done. Would you rather, as personality-wise, not as a coach, Lanning or Signetti?
I guess Lanning.
I would take Lanning too. I think Signetti's just a huge dick, and I think Lanning it's more put on, like it's more motivational, which I don't really have much of a problem with. I think Signetti's high on his own supply, real bad.
I think that's probably true. Yeah, that would obviously be a big upset if Indiana can find a way. Nebraska, Maryland. I'm not taking Maryland because they've let me down, and it is October. I will be going Nebraska, but I don't feel good about it.
That's the wise route. Yes, I'm also taking Nebraska.
Iowa at Wisconsin. Battle of mids.
Yeah, Wisconsin is just not good. Taking Iowa here. It's usually a good game when these two teams play, though.
6-3 type game for sure. Michigan at USC. This game was a really good game last year. Who you got?
I got SC. I think it's going to be a good game again. If it was at Ann Arbor, I'd probably take Michigan because I think both teams, even though they're different, they're very even. Taking SC to win what would be a big win for Lincoln Riley. I think he has to win this game, especially after losing at Illinois last week.
Yeah, I'm taking Southern Cal as well. The line, USC was favored by 2.5 when the week started. Usually when the home team, that's the underdog against a ranked opponent, is favored, that's a pretty good indication that the odds are definitely in USC's favor. So I am going to take USC to win. And Bryce Underwood, I think, is going to be very good. Just, again, a year away, maybe even 2 years away. But if Michigan can just run the rock and it doesn't matter, I could see Michigan, winning comfortably as well. So we'll see how that one goes. Michigan has been on the road. They were at Oklahoma already this year. So maybe I'm reading too much into that, but I'm taking Southern Cal. Purdue versus Minnesota. Again, Minnesota's passing attack is world renowned. I'm going to take Minnesota to win a game.
We're on the boat. On with the Gophers.
Sean, it's now time for better or worse to give us our predictions for the Penn State Northwestern game. These are typically games that we don't even really hype up very much because like everyone's on Penn State, whatever. What's your prediction? What's your bold prediction?
This is ironically enough one of the hardest games I've ever predicted.
Score-wise, for sure.
Score-wise, that's what I mean. Like I wasn't that. I shouldn't be arrogant at all about Penn State right now, but I am picking Penn State. And all week I thought Penn State will win just because they're kind of due. You talked about wounded animal mode. Nobody believes in this team. I do think this team really loves James Franklin. I don't believe that they've quit on him. I think you saw that last week. They battled back, just came up short. So I'm going to take Penn State. The score, though, I've been so off on these scores all year, and I'm probably going to be off on them again. I'm going to take Penn State to win 17-6.
Okay.
In a really ugly game. I think it could be a pretty toxic environment, to be honest. I think pregame, when Franklin's face comes up on the video board, I think you're going to hear a lot of boos. I think you're going to hear a lot of boos during the game. So I don't feel awesome about this. I could be wrong, too. We could come out and kick their ass. We could come out and lose. So it could go a million different directions. My bold prediction is A.J. Harris gets not one, but 2 interceptions. And that's what ultimately the defense clicks. They find a solution at least a temporary solution at linebacker, and Penn State ends up coming on the winning side of an ugly, ugly game. Like it might be 10-6 going in the fourth quarter.
Great. Can't wait for that. Appreciate you doing that to me.
Yeah.
I'm in the stands for that.
Oh, how do you think the stands are going to be on Saturday? Tickets are like insanely cheap right now.
I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah. Like you can get on the 50-yard line for like $80.
Yeah, I'm expecting to hear some boo birds for sure. It's funny, Sean. So I'm with you. Like, yeah, I guess I got the Penn State score correctly last week, but that didn't really matter. The scores we've been way wrong on the scores. Relatively speaking. So my original prediction was Penn State 27, Northwestern 10. And then I was like, okay, throw that out the window because that just makes too much sense, right? So I'm going to go Penn State wins 38-28. And
okay.
And I'm just going to go with what I hope happens, which is I don't care how many points the defense gives up. Obviously, we need to win, and we need to get some linebackers experience because we need more linebackers if we're going to make it the rest of the season. So I hope they do that. I don't know if they're going to do that, but my hope is that they play more linebackers. They give up, some stupid scores, maybe a trick play score, maybe they break a run or two. Whatever happens. I don't really care as long as we win the football game. No, you're not going to get any credit if you win this game 77-0 as much as you win 38-28. So I'm taking Penn State to win 38-28. And we've been very similar on bold predictions. I am going with the defensive touchdown for my bold prediction. And I have A.J. Harris doing that with a pick six, mostly because I'm tired of seeing the ball hit his face and him not pick it off. So I think this is the redemption opportunity for A.J. Harris. He finally gets the turnover and he takes it all the way back for a touchdown. And maybe that gets him going a little bit more. So there you have it. Sean's got them winning 17-6 in an ugly offensive struggle. I've got them winning 38-28 in an ugly defensive struggle. So watch the final score will probably be 27-10, and we'll both be wrong. But so be it. Sean, do we even consider what happens if they don't win this football game before we get out of here?
If they don't win this football game, I don't think James Franklin's going to be the coach next week. And I'm not sure what happens, but I just don't think I don't know if they fire him or they do that settlement that I was talking about like now. I don't think they could put him back out there. And that means too, Corey, that he has lost a locker room. I don't think he's lost it yet, but that would mean he has lost it.
Beaver Stadium would turn into a landfill.
It would be very
West Shore home field. Sorry.
Yeah, West Shore. Yeah, I don't think he's the coach next week if that happens.
Well, we have gonna have a very interesting show for you on Monday. And again, I will just again end a little bit more positively. If things do go well and they win, it's like the first step in the healing process. Like you can't start healing until they win again. And everyone's been pissed for 2 weeks now. So winning cures everything. It really does. And at least, the whole Penn State healing cycle where you're mad, you start believing again. You can't even get on that wheel.
Oh, yeah, we're not on it right now.
until you win. You got to win first before anyone can even start believing and potentially doing something. So, Penn State, Northwestern, 3:30. We'll see what happens. If you haven't, please make sure you have liked the video and you've subscribed on YouTube. And if you're listening on podcasts, please give us a 5-star review on Spotify or drop us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. I think we have another one to read. It just hasn't showed up yet. So please continue to drop those 5-star reviews and I will read them on the show. But otherwise, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you being here. And that's Sean Kane. And I'm Corey Listoki. You've been watching and listening to Hardcore Penn State Football. Until next time, good night.
Have a good night, everybody.